Hey, I feel it took forever for it to go live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a while since I haven't gone live on my different profiles. In fact, I was live this morning on Instagram and I'm starting to really enjoy it, but I didn't want to actually forget about you guys either because the topic I want to address today, it has to do with athletes' biggest fear post sports career. If you're new to me, welcome. I'm Fabienne Raphael, creator of the Dream Method, but also business coach for former pro and elite athletes, and I help them monetize their expertise so they can make an impact on so many other people's lives. And in fact, I help them build their coaching empire. And this question or this topic that I wanted to address, it came to me after listening to a very interesting documentary I listened to. I think it was last week, and it was about retiring athletes, what they were doing afterwards, what was their biggest fears before ending their career, and let's be honest about it. When you are training and when your life has been around sports for so many years, when you had that dream as a kid, for example, and you're finally living that dream as an athlete, well, of course, you want it to last the longest possible and you never want that to end. There are many athletes right now facing a lot of pressure and mental health issues. And I'm so glad that more and more people, more and more athletes are speaking up and reaching out for help because it's something that needs to be normalized. And of course, I also hear those people bad mouthing, right? Athletes making that move or athletes asking for help. And it's because these people have no clue and have no idea on the type of pressure that these athletes are enduring and what they're going through and what they've been through to get to where they are today. And I feel that there are so many things that are similar from the entrepreneurial journey to the athlete's journey because you have to face a lot of challenges. You have to be resilient. You have to be able to go forward despite the challenges or the setbacks or the failures. You have to compete at your highest, best possible each and every single time. You have to be consistent. There are so many life skills that are learned through the athlete's journey, and that's why I always say that athletes make the best entrepreneurs after their career. So while I was listening to that documentary, and they were talking about life after sport and all that stuff. So there were, of course, there were doctors. There were also like athletes talking about what they have experienced or what they are experimenting right now. And one of the things that came out the most was about the fear of being forgotten. So when you're a pro or when you're an elite athlete and you are fed with, the adrenaline rush that comes out of a great performance, out of crowds yelling and screaming your name, applauding your successes. You have fans and followers writing to you on social media. You have a ton of people behind you who support you. Well, of course, like you get that feeling of, yes, what I do is good for me, but also it's good for other people. It brings joy. It reunites people together. It brings some spirit. And I don't know if you've ever been to any big major sports event or something very intense, like between two teams or a very important gathering, competition, and all that stuff. Well, there's this energy and there's this atmosphere inside of the stadium, of the arena, inside of on a court. And when you have to transition out of sport, well, it might be hard to do that step because sports was your identity for all that time, and you're wondering if people are still going to remember you afterwards, if they are going to forget about you, right, after a few years. Sometimes it takes a few months, sometimes it takes a few years, and all that stuff. So You might also be familiar that with the fact that a lot of athletes post sports, they enter into a phase of depression, being extremely discouraged, extremely tired, and not necessarily knowing what to do next. And that's really the topic that I wanted to address today. Not only the fact that yes, it's one of the biggest fears to be forgotten out of, when you transition out of your sport, but it's still possible to have a life filled with purpose and to impact other people's lives with who you are and what you're about, other than, performing in your sport. Okay. So let me be clear here. As I said a little bit earlier, when you develop as an athlete, you develop a ton of skills, a ton of life skills, but you also have skills that you acquired over the years. Not only the skills that you've acquired out of your own sport, but also the skills that you've acquired maybe at studying in school, your program, or something major that happened in your life that you were able to overcome. And when that time happens when, I don't know, a younger player takes your spot, or no teams are hiring you anymore, or your body is too tired to compete anymore, or you have a sudden injury and it keeps you out of your sport for a longer period than expected. Well, guess what? It's still possible to live your purpose and to make an impact in other people's lives, and it's out of what you already have inside of you. And I hear you now saying, well, what do you mean? What do you mean what I have inside of me already? So I'm talking about, what your zone of genius is, what people are always telling you that you're great about doing, or something that you studied and then you decide that, hey, you're going to take everything that you've learned and put it into work right afterwards, right? And then you might feel that the 9 to 5 setting is not necessarily what you're looking for, because you feel that you would want to develop like your own thing, or have your coaching business, right? Or help people in a very meaningful way, maybe one by one, and see where that leads you, right? So that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your talent, your gift, your expertise, or all three. And I call that your zone of genius. How can you influence others with your zone of genius right now, today, and earn money out of it? And I'm promising you, the kick that you get out of helping someone or witnessing the change in the life of others is extremely fulfilling. Plus, it has that huge ripple effect. For example, this morning I was talking to one of my clients, and she's been working with me. And now, when she talks to me about the impact she has on her own clients, well, first of all, I'm extremely happy for her. But then, second of all, it all started with the work and the decision that she took in order to be able to develop her business, but also like the help I provided that person to be able to know how to reach out and how to attract clients to her business. Then now she's influencing other people's lives through my help. And then these people's lives that she's influencing, well, because these people become better people and their life is transformed, well, they might also have the opportunity to themselves change other people's lives too. So it's an amazing ripple effect. And when you sit down and think about it, it just like, oh, it just gives me shivers, because it's how powerful human beings are. And unfortunately, there are many of us who ignore all that power or that magnitude that sits inside of you. And it's actually very selfish if you want to keep it all for yourself. So, talking about the athlete's world, well, it's not because sports is not part of the equation that it's not possible for you to live your purpose and change other people's lives either. I strongly feel that, because let's say you're an athlete and you performed in a certain sport, well, if you have already connections who followed you through your journey, well, you already have a big step ahead of the curve, a curve compared to someone else who is not known and who doesn't have any following and who's like just a no name and has to start really from scratch. But when you have that advantage of not only already being a pro or an elite athlete and having people following you and being fond of you and your personality and your experience, then when you decide to share your transition out of sport with these people who have already and always supported you, then it becomes easier for you to actually be able to sign your first client and being able to influence that person's life with your gift, with your expertise, and with your talent, right? I feel that in the sports world we don't talk about that anymore, and that's why any not anymore, but we don't talk about it enough. That's what I wanted to say. We don't talk about it enough, and a lot of athletes after their sport is done, well, they're lost. And of course, they are, because if everything was around your sport and it's not there anymore, of course, for you, it's alarming, or you don't recognize yourself, or you don't have the same routine. You were used to, let's say, go to practice or go do these trainings one, two, three times a day. And now you have all that time that you can schedule things for yourself. But how do you manage that time, and how do you deal with that new freedom that you have, right? And that's the joy of overcoming challenges, and that's why, because you've been through a lot of hurdles before in your athlete's journey, then it might be even easier for you to be able to overcome this compared to someone who's never really experimented that before. So I'm just like, I just wanted to leave you to think about, okay, so right now, are you on the verge of retirement, or you're retired already? What kind of transition do you want to experiment? Do you want to just wait until like you get bored or get depressed, or you want to be proactive into really finding out, okay, knowing, because you know already what you're great at, right? And use those gifts, use that talent and expertise to be able to help someone who's already looking for that problem that you can solve, right? For the solution of that problem that you can solve. And that starts with conversation. That starts with talking about it. That also starts with talking with the right people and getting the support that you need. So if you have any comments to do on this, feel free to do it in the comments below. And if you feel like having a more, intimate conversation about it, because I know that it could be something very personal that you don't want to share publicly, well, it's fine. So just send me a private message and let's have a conversation. And if you're truly ready to take action, then you book a call with me at fabienraphael.com/coaching. And then you'll get access to my calendar and we can talk about this more seriously. So definitely, it's not because sports is over that you are forgotten for the rest of your life. What about your legacy? What about the influence and impact you still can have on other people? It's definitely something that is doable, and that's why I'm so dedicated into doing it, because I was a handball player. I played for almost like 20, 21 years, and I had great years as a handball player, but there was a time where my body was not geared anymore to still play, and I had to focus on other things in my life. And I remember that for me, at a certain point, it was kind of hard because I was looking for that kick. I was looking for the adrenaline rush of a very, very great performance, or of a championship win, or of a medal won, right? But yeah, it was kind of hard for me to find it again, until I realized that I had everything inside of me already to help others shine differently and transform and change their lives. And that's why I'm so dedicated into helping other athletes, or former pro elite athletes, do the same. In fact, even if you're not sure about it, you do have something inside of you that can profit someone else and that will help someone else change the way they live, the way they think, the way they live their life, and that has a great impact. And I feel that this is just a small part of, yes, making this world a better place. So yeah, let me know if you want to have that conversation. Feel free to DM me, and I will see you soon for another live stream. All right. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Bye.